Welcome back to your latest industry news, from an airline entering into bankruptcy protection to an airline partnership coming to a close and WestJet expansion. Want to begin with the headline story where in the last week, after much speculation, Spirit Airlines has formally entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, a pre-arranged process to help eventually stabilize the business. Despite the headlines about the airline and its associated bankruptcy, Spirit has repeatedly reassured the public that it will continue flying throughout this process, and this is a mere temporary move, with hopefully fundamentally greater changes to occur. The restructuring is expected to be massive, with no stone to be left unturned, and they hope to emerge more sustainably and have a future that can for once be secure. The supermajority of loyal and convertible bondholders support the turnaround efforts, and this is also through a comprehensive balance sheet restructuring. As stated by the airline, the restructuring should focus on elements such as enabling the company to have greater financial flexibility and accelerating investments for guests to ensure that travel experiences are going to provide greater value for the long term. Already, Spirit says it has received commitments for USD $350 million as an equity investment from existing bondholders and will complete the deleveraging transaction to equitize USD $795 million of funded debt. Furthermore, if you're taking a look at the airline's pretty large employee base, well, the company has confirmed that this is not expected to be affected by the ongoing turnaround efforts, with wages and/or benefits to continue being honoured and therefore paid. Spirit Airlines adds that vendors, aircraft lessors, and those that hold aircraft will continue to be paid in ordinary course, and this will not be impaired either. Spirit Airlines feels that actually this move into bankruptcy protection is probably long overdue and is going to be absolutely essential for their securing the long-term future that they're after, and this is a long-term future that has been under threat for some time. Analysts have argued that this was a required measure, for without it, Spirit Airlines may not have the future that it would want. They argue that it has been at risk after a very tough year. Well, what's happened in that tough year? Not just taking a look at the business model of Spirit Airlines, which has seen some concern about its long-term profitability, there was one major story that really cannot be ignored in the continued struggles at Spirit Airlines, and that is the breaking point of a formal rejection of a planned merger with JetBlue after deliberation and a lengthy trial. In July 2022, JetBlue and Spirit announced their intent to merge, a decision ultimately followed Frontier's previous attempts to merge with Spirit. These merger aspirations saw a three-way battle for acquiring the low-cost unit, and eventually JetBlue outbid Frontier. However, there were immediate concerns about the regulatory process that would lead to what the pair hoped would be approval. A merger was completely ruled out, and official documentation interestingly revealed that the coming together of these two airlines would actually enhance competition on some of your larger airlines, and fulfill the ambition on JetBlue's part of really breaking into that big three. While this is a good thing, furthermore, there were comments regarding the catastrophic impact that these governors imagined would take place on consumers who relied on the low-cost airfares that Spirit offers to this day through their model, basically believing this would be at risk. Now, because of the deal collapsing, many actually felt this was good for JetBlue, but the opposite for Spirit, and the impact since on the US low-cost unit has been felt through the roof, with many complexities, and them entering bankruptcy protection really being seen as the final straw. There is another unfortunate story. Etihad Airways and Virgin Australia have formally announced that their partnership, which includes frequent flyers and code-sharing benefits, will end in 2025. The pair will end it specifically on June 1, and this hardly comes as a shock, considering the direction that Virgin Australia is expected to head in the coming years and even months. The Abu Dhabi-based company confirmed that when the termination takes effect, passengers will not be able to book Virgin Australia-operated flights through Etihad Airways' channels. Additionally, Etihad customers with existing bookings that include a Virgin Australia-operated segment won't see further changes on their itineraries. However, members will not earn guest miles on Virgin Australia operated flights from basically the termination date. Why is all of this taking shape? Well, in the last few months, Qatar Airways, a direct competitor to Etihad, announced it wanted to take a 25% minority stake in Virgin Australia to focus more on domestic services. The Australian company, one that really focuses primarily on domestic services. As a result, while not having been formally approved, Etihad Airways' role would not really make sense considering the direction of Virgin Australia in the coming years. This is something that has been reiterated through many statements from both airlines. That is, the direction is changing. For example, Virgin Australia want to begin serving international routes thanks to a partnership with Qatar Airways and leasing arrangements. Furthermore, in return, while Qatar will gain greater access to Australia, a market in which it has been attempting to increase its presence for some time, but has ultimately not succeeded. Much of Qatar Airways' rejection has come from concerns that if this Middle Eastern airline were allowed to expand into a land down under, it would have negative repercussions for not just Australians, but the flag carrier in Qantas. This has certainly caused a stir. Some believe that the Australian flag carrier is being protected too much. Qatar, meanwhile, argues that a expansion would actually benefit all involved and look to dramatically lower costs. The one loss from this acquisition is Etihad, who previously had an established relationship with the Australian airline. But that being said, they remain more committed to the country than ever, stating that in 2025 they will be expanding existing services that they have to really have greater connectivity. As for the final story, well, WestJet has announced an expansion in 2025 as well from Vancouver, with trans-border locations to be enhanced. While the winter season commences, the Canadian airline knows it must begin already planning for the summer 2025, and as such, is making necessary changes. WestJet will offer non-stop seasonal connectivity from Vancouver to Boston and Tampa for the schedule as part of US connectivity ambitions, and also just generally to increase its presence from the Canadian city on the west coast. The airline believes that there is great opportunities for service on coast-to-coast routes, and is looking to enhance this offering with the launch of the 2 new flights next year. WestJet will increase seat capacity by 12% and its domestic seat capacity by 13%, and they're thrilled to expand their service, offering greater business and leisure opportunities. While a lot of the focus will be on new services for WestJet, there will also be a focus on the airline's relationship with Delta. Why? Well, this is thanks to codeshare benefits. WestJet has confirmed that guests can connect through Boston Logan to a wide array of locations in the US with a single purchased ticket. Relationships such as these offer fantastic opportunities for customers to have a more seamless flying experience and to reach markets that obviously WestJet may not be able to reach with its mainline aircraft for many reasons, whether this is because it doesn't have enough demand for its own planes or just generally is lacking aircraft availability. Boston Logan will operate from 9th of June through to 13th of October next year, and as for Tampa, well, that will take place from the 14th of June through to the 25th. Boston Logan will get a daily flight, and Tampa will have 1 per week. That'll conclude today's aviation news recap. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you next time.